Okay, hello everybody. Today we're here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in the Cessna Skyhawk C172. We have a 70 nautical mile flight from 8 Golf 2 Corry-Lawrence to 6 Papa 7 McVille. At least, that was the plan. But something's not going to go right. It's something I didn't plan for, and you're going to get to watch me think on my feet on how to deal with the situation. We are flying with the WBSim C172 enhancement mod in the custom livery November 5207 Quebec, which is the real-life airplane that I've done my flight training with. Should be an awesome flight, so let's get started. So we'll head down here, we'll make sure that our circuit breakers are in, our switches are off, mixture and throttle are out, parking brakes set. We'll get the trim bumped up to the takeoff position, push in the fuel shutoff valve and rotate the fuel selector valve through all the positions. We'll head over here and turn on our battery. Check our fuel, we're at a quarter tank left and right, so we'll be sure to fuel up before heading on our way. Then we'll head back down here, we'll get the beacon on. We'll check that the prop area is clear next. But first we're going to just adjust the throttle. Alright, clear prop. Looks good. We'll head back down here, and we've got to get the fuel pump on. We're going to leave the mixture where it is. The C172 enhancement mod is a little quirky to start, and I find that this works best even though it's not quite the way that you start up a real Skyhawk. Alright, fuel pump on for a second, back off, leave everything where it is, crank over the ignition, and sure enough, if you use those settings, you should get a start each time. Bring the mixture into full rich, verify that we have oil pressure, we do. Our RPMs are at 1,000, and everything on the gauges are looking good. We'll get the alternator on, and the low voltage light is still off, but I think as we run it and charge the battery, that will go back off. I can see that I do have positive charge on the ammeter when I glanced at it, so we'll keep an eye on it, but I think it looks okay. If it's still on when we do the run-up, then we'll figure out what's going on. Okay, so now we can head over here and lean the mixture for ground operations so we don't get fouled plugs. Okay, we'll head back down here to the switches and just double checking the RPM gauge again. Fluctuating a little bit, we'll check it out during the run-up. Get the taxi light on, avionics 1 and 2 on. Now you actually have to turn on the Garmin's. While we do, we'll open up for flight and I'll take you through the flight brief. Same as our last video in this area, when we were running with real-world weather, we've got a lot of weather going on. So we've got convective sigmets, that's the red and the yellow polygons here. And if you click on them, you can read the time frames that they are in effect. This one's an outlook sigmet, so that's predicting what weather is going to be in the future, and basically it's a lot of storm activity to watch out for. We've also got some PIREPs, and this PIREP is for low visibility because we've got the Canadian wildfires going on, so you've got haze blanketing this area, which is also reducing the visibility. So not a great day for a cross country. I think if I were planning this in real life, I would sit this one out and choose a better day to fly, but we're going to give it a shot and see how it goes in the simulator. If we look at Corry-Lawrence, we can see winds are 310 at 10 statute miles visibility. That's pretty good. The TAF doesn't look too bad. McVille, on the other hand, has rain showers in the area, 5 statute miles, ceilings at 3,500. So 3,500 probably would be a no-go for me, even though this is still legal to fly. I would sit it out, but we'll give it a shot in the game and see what we encounter. So looking at our flight plan, taking off from Corry-Lawrence, our first waypoint is Titusville. Easy to spot. Then we've got Oil City. After Oil City, we'll be looking for the Clarion River. Then we're looking for Brady. And then finally Worthington before arriving at McVille. Now just southwest of McVille, you can see some blue lines. That's the Pittsburgh Bravo. So we'll be fine as long as we stay on course, but if we get ourselves turned around, we'll have to make sure we don't bust the Bravo. Corry-Lawrence traffic, Skyhawk 5207 Quebec, taxi from the ramp to runway 32, hold short, Corry-Lawrence. Okay, we will come up here to the hold short line and we'll do our run up. Remember, the engine was a little bit rough and I wanted to check that here during the run up. So we'll start by checking our flight controls: elevator up, elevator down, rudder left, rudder right, aileron left, and aileron right. Now we'll head back in here and get our mixture into full rich. We'll bring our throttle up to 1700 RPMs. Next, we're going to do the mag check. The magnetos are little self-powered generators attached to the engine that generate the power for the spark plugs independently of the electrical system. So we just did mag left, mag right, and we've got a bigger drop than anticipated. So this tells me once again I have spark plug fouling. It's I think very easy to foul the spark plugs here with the WBSim enhancement mod. So we're going to clean it. We'll bring the RPMs up to 2000. Whoa, that was too much. Lean the mixture to peak RPMs. Then we're going to run it that way. High RPM, lean mixture for 30 to 60 seconds and time it. There we go. 30 to 60 seconds have gone by, so now we can bring the mixture back into full rich. Do another mag check. Throttle to 1700. We'll do mag left. And we only lost about 100 RPM on that, maybe, which is good. That's what we want. Mag right. Same deal. So that's looking good. We can now bring on our strobes, bring on the landing light, turn off the taxi light, head over to the transponder and get it into alt mode. And we are ready for departure. We are clear on our left and our right. Corry-Lawrence traffic, Skyhawk 5207 Quebec, departing runway 32. We'll be doing a left downwind departure to the south at 4,500 Corry-Lawrence. Alright, game on. I love running with live weather. You saw the flight brief, and we've got a lot of challenges with weather. What's cool about it is you can have different weather where you're going than where you're at. So you'll actually see fronts in the difference. You can see the weather ahead and plan according to what you see, which is awesome. You just don't get that when you do presets. With presets, the weather's the same everywhere. Alright, engines look good. Airspeed is alive. We're coming up on rotate speed and rotate. And this is the Boris Audio Works sound set. Doesn't it sound awesome? I love the sound of the engine in this. Alright, that was a nice smooth departure. Now we're going to turn left crosswind and continue our climb. Now we're in the left downwind, and we're going to continue climbing to 4,500. We're on track. Let's sit back and enjoy that awesome flight simulator scenery. Alright, here's where things get interesting. So we're cruising along and I'm fighting with the autopilot a bit, having trouble getting it to track the nav heading, so I put it into heading mode to get us back on track manually to our first waypoint of Titusville, and I'm just northeast of Titusville by a couple miles. I'm cruising along at 2,300 RPM, which is my target cruise RPM. Everything's looking good. So now we're just waiting to get back on track and turn back to our heading, and there it is. Do you hear the engine? And look at the RPM gauge. So I went from a stable 2300 to fluctuating between 2000 and 2200. And checking the pressures and the temperatures, those are all in the green. My fuel tanks are both full. I don't see any problems at all here on the engine gauges. So let's check what we've got for nearby airports. We might need to divert and do an emergency diversion, and this is why I like to leave the nearest page up all the time in case I need to go someplace quickly. And I can see Titusville just over my nose. Looking at the nearest page, I've got 0 Papa November 8, which is 3.5 miles away from my position, just to the south of Titusburg. So we're going to hit direct enter, and select that. We'll get the magenta line pointing towards that airport, and then we're going to turn and get ourselves on track for it. I don't know if that's a great choice for an airport, but that's what we've got nearby, so let's pick it. And I'm going to pull the power back and start a descent because it's only 3.5 miles away, so we're going to be on top of it pretty soon, and I want to get myself to pattern altitude. This is going to take us right over Titusville, which you can see straight ahead. Now when we did the flight planning, I don't remember seeing a 0 Papa November 8, so if we pull up for flight, here's where we are, just north of Titusville, and it's not even on the sectional. But you can see Titusville 6 Golf 1 is, and it has a 4,900 foot runway, it's lighted, it has fuel services, and it's just another 2 miles past 0 Papa November 8. So I'm going to select that. In the GPS, you can see the magenta line has updated itself, and we're going to point the nose right for Titusville. Alright, so we're in a stable descent now. We're at 4,800. I've got the field elevation on my sectional, so we know our pattern altitude. There's Titusville just off my left strut. Still can't see that original field. I can see it on the GPS, so it should be at my 10 o'clock position. It might be one of those patches up ahead. But I think I can make out Titusville straight ahead off the nose. Now we've got the haze going on here from the Canadian wildfires. That's what you're seeing here, and it's making it hard. Oh, there it is. We've got the beacon. So you just saw the green and white flash. Perfect. So I've got the field in sight, and I feel a lot better. So now we've fast forwarded, and we're here on the crosswind because that's the angle that we came from. I'm going to turn left onto the downwind and get a good look at the windsock, and of course it's pointing the opposite direction, so I'm in the wrong direction for where the wind's coming. But my engine's behaving enough that I can cut across, jog over to the downwind, and we can land with the wind. Now I've got power in at 2,000 RPM, and that's max throttle, so max throttle is just keeping me level. So I can't climb at this point. All I can do is maintain altitude, and fortunately we're at a good place where we could do a complete engine out landing from this point in the pattern, even if we lost our engine. So I got my first notch of flaps in. We're turning base, starting to breathe a sigh of relief. Once we roll out onto final, I'll get my next notch of flaps in. Got the runway straight ahead, and if anything, I'm just a little bit high, which is good. That's a good problem to have at this point. Remember, we have a nice 4,900 foot runway. So going long isn't going to be much of a problem for this. Alright, airspeed looks good. I'd say we've got the runway made. And that was not too bad. Whoa! And just almost lost the engine, but it came back with a little bit of throttle. Oh! And there it goes. So, well, look out for the grass. Right here, exiting the runway onto the taxiway. I'm going to keep coasting as far as I can to try to straighten out here on the taxiway and get myself completely clear. I seem to have lost it when I throttled back. I might be able to restart it, but I don't think I will. I don't want to damage the engine at this point. So we're just going to shut everything down, get all of our switches off, get the avionics off, pull the mixed grid idle cutoff, head down here, pull the fuel shutoff valve, then we'll get the trim to take off. We might as well. Turn the battery and alternator off, turn off the keys, the ignition, pull out the keys, and for now we'll pull on the parking brake. Hopefully there's somebody here that can, bring a tractor down and tow me up to the ramp. If not, I guess I'll just have to hop out and get behind one of the struts and push it and get it up to the ramp to not block the taxiway. And we made it. So, debrief. That happened fast. From problem to landing was 8 minutes. So I had to really think on my feet, pick a direction, and start going. And you saw when I landed, I pretty much lost the engine right as I was rolling out onto the taxiway. So I could have lost the engine at any point there. Now that we're on the ground, I can pull up 0 Papa November 8 in ForeFlight and see that it's Shriver, which is a private grass field. It's a 2,000 foot field by 100 feet wide, and it's unregistered. So Titusville was definitely the right call. That's one of the things I did right. Here's some of the things that I did wrong, and I learned from them. The first one was I descended. I don't know why I descended. I was fixated on getting to pattern altitude because I thought the airport was 3 miles away. I could have lost my engine any point along the way, and being at pattern altitude would have been bad if I wasn't over the airport yet. So I should have stayed at 4,500 until I was over the airport, and then spiraled down once the field was made. The other thing that I didn't do is I didn't bother to go through the checklist. So there's checklists for rough running engine, and there's a checklist for a forced landing with engine power or partial engine power. And those are both on the screen there. I could have done those. Those might have helped figure out what the problem was. If it was specific to certain spark plugs that were causing the rough running engine, if I did a mag check and turned off that mag and suddenly the engine got better, I could have just left those mags off and then done a calmer landing, not losing power due to the rough running engine, if that was the problem. I still don't know what the problem is. It could be a Cork WB Sim, the enhancement pack. It could be something I did. Let's see if I could try to figure it out. So what was awesome about this experience for me personally is I actually learned things doing this that hopefully will help me in real life. All those things that I did wrong in the sim are going to stick in my head. So if I ever get myself into a situation like this, hopefully some of that will reapply. So I hope you enjoy content like this. If you do, be sure to click that like button, leave me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, as always, for flying along with me, and stay tuned for further flight adventures.